to my channel. Why do they call me Ginger? Because I'm spicy. Anyway, today we're gonna do something a little bit different. I guess all of you thought that this channel was just about try on hauls, but it's not. I specifically said that this was about lifestyle, body positivity, and fashion. So today we're doing lifestyle and we're going to cook today. Not only are we gonna cook, we're gonna cook a specific Ghanaian dish. Of course, I'm gonna sprinkle in my little Caribbean flavor because I'm Caribbean, but we are going to make okra stew with meat and seafood. A little bit about why I want to cook this dish. When I first came to the United States, my best friend was from Ghana, and going over to her house kind of got me into tasting the foods that she made, and I kind of liked it. Plus, I've had some experience with some Ghanaian boys, and they also helped me to appreciate the taste of Ghanaian food. So today, I'm going to make that dish, sprinkle in a little bit of my Caribbean flavor, and I hope that you can cook with me, and I hope that you enjoy it. Stay tuned.
The ingredients for the okra stew are okra, of course, zucchini, 3 onions, 2 yellow onions, and 1 red onion, the Hunt's diced tomato in a can. You'll need some salt, some whole allspice, some bay leaves, some black pepper, some palm oil. We will need the seafood medley, the smoked herring, we will need shrimp, we will need canned mackerel, we will need the green homemade seasonings, we will need the cow foot, of course, we will need goat meat, we will need ginger, garlic, beef bouillon, shrimp cubes, and the onga food seasoning. We will also need some ground cloves and some allspice.
So in order to season the meat and to prepare it, we're going to create a simple spice blend that we're going to have to put in the blender. I have some onions here, 3 halves of a yellow onion and 1 half of a red onion. I also have some spices. I have ginger spice. This is where I get my name. I have a shrimp cube. I have 3 cloves of garlic, some cloves, and some black pepper seasoned. And we're gonna chop all of this up and put it in the blender so that we can season our meat properly.
All right, we're gonna start by chopping the onions in small chunks to put it in the blender. We wanna make sure that it's chopped well because we wanna make sure that it blends very smoothly. Next, we're gonna chop our ginger as small as can be because ginger does have a very strong taste and we wanna make sure that there is no strings in the blend. We're gonna chop the garlic next and add it to the spices. Then we're gonna add our dry seasonings. We're gonna add the shrimp cubes, the aniseed, the ground cloves, and the onga seasonings. Next, we add some water and we blend it until it's smooth.
So I have my blended spices, my onion, and my other ingredients. And to it, I'm going to add it to my goat meat and my cow foot so that I can put it in the pressure cooker.
Now we add our spice blend to the meat and we take our time stirring it thoroughly. We want to make sure that all that blended spices goes well and season the meat. We want to make sure that the flavors is infused into the meat. We will add our meat to the pressure cooker. Make sure it's secure. We're going to pressurize this on high pressure for 40 minutes. Whilst your meat is being pressurized, we're going to get to our okra and we're going to start chopping it up. It's your preference, but I like to chop my okra very small.
At this point, when you're making this dish, people from Ghana usually use garden eggs, but I live in the Bronx and in my local supermarket, there is no garden eggs, which is a vegetable that's specific to this stew. So enter the zucchini. The zucchini is in the same family as the garden eggs, and you can find it in any of your local grocery store. So I'm going to substitute the zucchini for the garden eggs.
We need to make sure that our zucchini is washed properly. Then we're going to peel it with a zucchini peeler. After you peel it, make sure that you get everything off. You want to make sure that all the skin is gone because it will leave a bitter taste. You're going to cut it in half and cut those halves in more halves, and then you're going to chop it into chunks or small cubes. Okay, so now we're going to sanitize our seafood medley. We're going to rinse it with some lime and some cold water. We want to make sure we get all that brine out. We want to make sure that it's well washed and clean. Then we're going to rinse it with some cold water to get that lemon taste out. It's very important that you get the lemon taste out. We don't want it to affect the dish. The seafood medley is made with crabs, scallops, squid, mussels, and shrimp. So after we rinse the seafood medley carefully, we're going to go over and add some salt to taste. We're going to add 1 tablespoon of our homemade green blend. And then we're going to add 1 tablespoon of the blended ginger and onions that we did earlier. We're going to make sure that we mix it well. We want to make sure that all those blended spices are infused in the seafood. So it's important that you mix it well. We're then going to go over to the stove where we have some water that's already boiling and steaming. We're going to add a steaming basket, and then we're just going to pour it in the pot. We want to blend this for 7 to 10 minutes until it's 80% done. After it's been steamed, you want to take out the seafood. Remember, we don't want it to be done all at once. We don't want it to be fully cooked. We don't want to overcook it. So we're going to take out the seafood. Keep in mind that we want to keep the stock that's in the pan. The stock is important for the next step. So you're just going to take out all your seafood, place it in a separate bowl, and then save the stock for the next step. After you remove the seafood, you're going to add some more water to the stock that's already in the pot, and then you're going to add your okra. Make sure that you don't make a mess and spill it. Try to get it in the pot as much as you can. After we get the okra in, we're going to try to add some baking soda. The baking soda is important because it helps to keep the draw. The draw is the slimy thing that makes the okra stew good. Make sure that you add sliced onions to the mix as well. We're going to steam this again for 7 to 10 minutes until the okra is partially cooked. Look at that wonderful draw. This looks so delicious already. After you turn the stove off on your okra and your okra is partially cooked, you're going to go check on your meats. Now, make sure that you release the steam from the pressure cooker. Do not burn yourself. You should have a wonderful aroma of this cooked meat. Look how wonderful that looks. We're going to take a straining spoon and we are going to take the meat out of the sauce and we're going to put it in a separate bowl. It's important that we get as much meat as possible. We don't want to leave any of those juicy tidbits behind. I had to give it a taste and it tastes wonderful, very well seasoned. Now we're going to take the cow foot because the bones are generally very big in the cow foot and it kind of crowds the pot. So we're going to take the cow foot and we are going to cut off the big pieces of meat that is on the bone. The goat meat is usually bite-sized, but if you get a big piece, you can trim that as well with the scissors. But we're focusing on the cow foot and cutting the meat away from the big bone, separating it so that you will have more meat and less bone in your okra stew. Okay, now let's start finishing this baby up. We start by warming up the palm oil in a hot pot for 3 minutes. Palm oil burns very easily, so you only want to heat it up for about 3 minutes on medium heat. To that, we're going to add our smoked herring and our red onions. We're going to add it slowly. We're going to stir and let that cook for about 3 to 5 minutes, stirring occasionally. Next, we're going to add our blend of ginger and garlic. We're going to stir it well, make sure that it's well infused. After about 3 minutes of it simmering, we're going to add our fire roasted diced tomatoes to the mix. Make sure you get all those wonderful tomatoes in there and make sure that you stir it so that it does not burn and stick to the bottom. Next, we're going to add our meat stock that we took from the pressure cooker. To add this to the mix, it gives it a lot of flavor from the meat and makes it well seasoned. Tastes amazing. We're going to mix that thoroughly and we're going to let that cook for 12 minutes. After 12 minutes, the oil will rise to the top and it will start bubbling. This is the time that we add our chopped zucchini as well as the meat, the goat meat and the cow foot. Now the pot is getting really crowded, so take your time and mix it well so that the meat is infused in the sauce and all that flavor is coating our meat. We're going to cover it and let it cook for 5 to 7 minutes. Next, we're going to add our seafood medley. Sorry, but I lost the footage for that. Our seafood medley and our canned mackerel at the same time. We want to take our time stirring it because we don't want to mash up the mackerel or the seafood medley too much. So take your time when you're stirring it. We're going to cover it and we're going to let it cook, simmer for another 5 to 7 minutes. And now for the piece de resistance. What is okra stew without okra? We've been waiting a long time for this. So we're gonna use a fork because the spoon kind of mashes up the meat and it doesn't make it blend well. So we use a fork whilst we're adding all that lovely slimy okra. The fork helps us to maneuver better in the pot and mix the ingredients well. The baking soda that we added earlier helped with all that silky, slimy draw, which is what makes the okra stew so famous. We're going to take our time blending this. The pot is very full. We have a lot of meats and vegetables. We don't want to make a mess and we don't want to spill any of this lovely stew. So you're just going to take your time and blend it and mix it well inside the pot. After it's well blended, you're going to see less of the okra and more of the other colors. You're going to see the tomatoes, you're going to see the zucchini, you're going to see the meat, and this is what the finished product looks like. At this point, it's almost done. We're going to taste for salt and seasoning. I felt that mine needed a little bit more salt, so I just added a little bit more, not too heavy on the salt. We're going to keep mixing it, get all those colors and all those flavors together. Taste it again, make sure that it's done. And at this point, we're just gonna cover it on very low heat. All right, let's put this baby to bed by giving this okra stew its final stir. We're gonna check for taste, we're gonna check for colors, we're gonna spoon it to make sure that it's well blended. And then we're gonna take a wet tissue paper, ladies, and you have to clean the corners inside of your pots. We don't wanna leave any mess. Then we're gonna half cover it, turn the fire down all the way down.
All right, guys, so we're all done and we have created the okra stew. It has cow foot, it has goat meat, and it has seafood medley. Now my feedback, this was my very first time preparing this, and I have to say that when you're making Ghanaian foods, there's a lot of steps. Not necessarily as much as I expected, but still a lot of steps. When I'm cooking Caribbean food, maybe because I'm used to it, but it's like 1, 2, 3 done. But with the Ghanaian food, there was a lot of steps. I had to process the palm oil. I'm not really used to cooking with palm oil. Then you had to blend a lot of the vegetables, blend a lot of the spice in. It took a long time. And of course, paying attention to detail, the vegetables. It was new and it was different. However, like I said, I've developed a taste for Ghanaian food over the years, but I've always had someone else prepare it. So from my first time experience, it's a lot. However, this is how the meal turned out. You can eat this with rice or you can eat it with banku. I chose to eat it with rice because I don't really care for the banku too much. And as you can see, it's full of color. It's full of flavors. It has a lot of vegetables. I put a couple of Scotch Bonnet Pepper in there, so there's a slight kick. This is a wonderful meal, and I hope that you can try it in your home and let me know what you think. Thanks for staying with me. Follow me on Instagram at Ginger1Spice, and I'll see you again soon with another fashion haul. Bye-bye.